All right.
There we are.
And we're back. Cathy, thank you for that. I'm wanted to ask you just for as a marketer, you were talking about, kind of your background as a marketer, not an AI person. How many people do you think are using this in marketing circles? What's the adoption? Do you have any sense of, how AI has caught on within marketing circles, event marketing circles, how people might be using AI? And what should marketers be thinking about in sort of their next steps in this journey?
Yeah, so we do an annual research report, our state of marketing AI every year, and this year the numbers increased pretty significantly as far as people saying, we are intermediate to advanced in our AI adoption. And then I talked to someone else, not with in our pool of people we talked to were mostly from our database.
Mhm.
So obviously indexing higher toward adoption and understanding than your average marketer. And I talked to someone who ran their own study on just marketing. And then they had a question about AI. And then they said marketers were like, half and half, half were interested, half were not interested. I talked to a third person who did a study based on just business folks. And they said that marketers are the laggards. IT and tech obviously is a little bit going to be ahead of marketing just by the nature of what they like to do and what their interests. But I was very surprised to see how, as a whole, how the businesses see marketers as the ones that are staying behind. But I just feel like it gives marketers a leg up. We're the ones. There's so many use cases in marketing, and it gives us a seat at the table, saying we should be using this tech. We should be onboarding AI into our organizations, and really, it's just. I think it's a great place for marketers to add their stamp within their organizations.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, Camille and I have talked about this a bit on our podcast when we focused on AI, and I think it does give marketers a seat at the table. I think being that game changer within the organization to say, hey, we should have an enterprise license to this, or here's what I'm trying to test, and here's how I'm optimizing. I mean, like any business, marketers are challenged to grow the business, do so efficiently. This can only help, CAC
Mhm.
metrics in the boardroom, things that, investors and, leadership really wants to see, and really help people kind of, plant a flag for the organization to be, AI forward. So I think, what do you suggest to kind of unlock that comfort level? Because I think um, some of it is time, I'm sure, and some of it is also just hesitations around, new tools or learning something new. How can marketers accelerate that?
A couple ways. So we have a free class we run every few weeks called our Intro to AI for Marketers. No pressure, totally free. That Paul and I just go through. Paul does it, and I moderate the Q&A and I work with the attendees. But going through, what is the definition of AI, and how can I get started? How do I identify a use case? What steps do I take? And here are some technologies you can even jump in and think about. That's one way. And then another thing we talk about is building an AI council within your organization, even if it's just a few folks who don't know how to get started, but just maybe someone from marketing, someone from IT, someone from ops, getting a few folks together to sit down and say, what are some things we should be thinking about? Do we have a generative AI policy for our organization? Are we allowed to put our data into some of these tools? What what things do we need to worry about as far as our customer data is concerned? Because if you're in event marketing, you know that your customer data is gold, and you want to protect all of your attendees' data. Because I got an email this morning from someone saying, would you like to buy the pass all the names and email addresses of everyone that came to your event? Like, to my event? There's so many scammers out there. So we just have to protect all of this such important data. And I wouldn't put that in any of these tools right now. I would build something, so it's trying to figure out how you can really take advantage of this AI and protect our attendees.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. And so anyway, so this AI council can kind of think of all these things. What are some ways AI can help us? What are the things we need to be thinking about? Who else should be involved in this conversation? So when it comes to the bigger tech decisions, even though the marketer might be the one using it the most,
Mhm.
who's going to be involved and who needs to sign off on this and who needs to read the terms and conditions that I think I understand, but really I don't. So I need to make sure the legal looks at that.
Yeah, I definitely see the council having legal, your security engineering team,
Yep.
revenue operations, and helping you, with your data. Obviously, buy-in across leadership, and marketing being the tip of the spear in many ways, in all ways. I feel like it's our teams trying to foster growth and try new ways of unlocking revenue. So
Mhm.
that's great. We at Splash started also a Slack channel, one around, kind of internal use. How do we accelerate AI within our organization? We have another sort of thought leadership channel around interesting ways that marketers who we serve, event marketers, are, utilizing AI or could utilize AI, and using that to educate our entire organization. We feel like it's really important for everybody to understand, these tools and the impact, of course, on our customer, on our community. So we've been working hard to learn, and many folks at Splash are also not just doing your intro class once, but multiple times, because there's always refreshed information and everything's moving so quickly that it's great to stay ahead. So
Well, I've sat through it 28 times and I still learn something. And every 3 weeks we change a few slides because things are moving so quickly.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, that's an event marketer right there. You go through the rodeo a few times.
Well, the hard thing was for our event this year, we wanted our speaker decks a week or two prior. People were like, what if something changes? It was the middle of the summer when AI was there was so many things changing. So we were changing. AV was like not loving us at our event this year because we're like, we actually have a new flash drive for you with someone's new presentation on it, because guess what happened this morning?
Yeah, I mean, that's like the most nimble topic that you could be,
Yes.
and the most nimble event setup that you need would be Maycon. So hats off to you and
Yeah.
you and the team and your AV
And
provider.
that wasn't me. So like, that's okay. I was fine.
Talk to us a little bit about other key challenges, and that found you know through the conference, how that might have impacted your strategy, or maybe share with the audience like some specific outcomes and successes like you attributed to AI at the event.
I think a lot of it was just making sure the right people were there. We did a lot of analysis that we wouldn't have had the means to do without having some AI to help us, to make sure that the sessions were the right sessions, to make sure that topics were covered, to make sure that um, even like things like room sizes, we were making sure that people were in the right spots based on topics that were covered. So things got shifted around a little bit based on looking at some of the data. We want Our sponsors were really happy because we were able to really, really get in the weeds on some data points that they were interested in, because instead of just saying we have 40% C-suite, we were able to really get to number crunch some more and give them who's their ICP, who are they looking to make sure that they were there, what could they be doing to prep for who was coming, and rather than just lists, we were able to get into some finer detail. And there's so much data out there. I remember the time in my career when like we were like, we need more data. Now we're like, we have too much data. How do we go through it all? And there's not enough human hours possible, even if that's all we did. And there's some technologies that can help us do things like that now, which is really nice.
Yeah, talk about when you used AI to kind of sift through the questions that the common questions, and
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of prioritize. Tell us a little bit about that journey, because I think that's something that we can all relate to. At an event, you get a ton of questions. You want to answer them. What are the most common issues that folks are having, or the topics that are going to resonate most? So give us that color around that story, please.
Yeah. So we run a weekly podcast. Mike and Paul on our team are the podcast co-hosts. And there was one week that Mike was gone. So I was the fill-in. And we said we should do a podcast based on what are all the questions, what are the most asked questions during our intro to AI classes we run every 3 weeks. So there were like 142 questions or something like that. So rather than have me go through and read all of them, I copied and pasted all of them, put it into ChatGPT, and said, can you analyze these? And what are the top 15 most asked questions? I got a kickback saying, you put in too much text. So as I told you yesterday, I'm learning as I'm going. I'm just trying to figure out, is this a viable use case for AI? So I batched it into, I think I could do 4, I did it 4 different times. So like 30, 35, 40 questions, analyze this group, this group, this group, this group. And then I was able to take that smaller group and then put them all in. And I said, give me the top 15 questions. And then I went through, and some of them were kind of weird. They didn't add, they weren't, those questions were not asked during the intro to AI classes, because it's just, AI is basically guessing what it thinks I want the answer to be, based on the information that it has. So I ended up tweaking a lot of it, but we turned a podcast episode into the top 15 questions asked during our intro to AI classes. And it was awesome. It's our highest viewed downloaded podcast. And it's answering some really important questions. So then once we got the output from ChatGPT, I went through and, like I said, I tweaked some of the questions, reorganized them so they flowed better, deleted a few, added in a few that I knew that people were asking that wasn't, that ChatGPT didn't catch. So there was human intervention. I mean, I really had to go through there and scrub them. And then there was one that Paul's like, what does that question even mean? I'm like, I don't know where that came from. So everything needs to be, it needs human oversight. So we always say that, like, humans right now are needed more than ever. So
Yes.
we couldn't have asked those questions the way ChatGPT gave us that output. But it was awesome. And it was like, I want to do it again.
Yeah.
Right now I'll do it differently. Maybe I'll try Claude this time to see if I can do it. Or maybe I'll try Writer. I really like Writer. It's been a really good tool for us. So one thing that Writer did that I should have talked about during post event, I would say, is I'm able to take our podcast, for example, and you could do the same thing for your event. Excuse me. I want takeaways. So our podcast is formatted in 3 topics. So I said, okay, I want to write my show notes blog post about the podcast. So I put it into Writer. They've got a recaps feature, and it gave me 4 takeaways from the podcast. I'm like, awesome. So once I read it, I realized that it gave me 2 takeaways from topic 1, 2 takeaways from topic 2, and 0 from topic 3. And I was like, okay, it gave me a good start. So I'll just go through and do topic 3 on my own. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to be smarter about this. So the next week, I did a video for topic 1, a video for topic 2, and topic 3 separately. Give me a takeaway for each of those 3. Then I merged those 3 and put them into a blog post. So that was faster. So I'm trying to learn how to use these tools better. And again, the takeaways were really great. They pulled out some quotes. It summarized some of what they were saying. And again, I went through and I gave it a really hard edit, but it saved me a ton of time. Blog posts take a long time to do. Mm-hmm. So it was just really helpful. It saved me, I would say, cut my time by 75%.
Yeah, I think I always have the writer's block. Okay, I starting from an outline or starting from something better in like an editor role, especially when you're busy. So I feel like that tip is so key for marketers when you're just trying to summarize what just happened, get it out quickly. Where do you start? And you can iterate your prompts or help your tool along. But it's a really nice way to break through writer's block, I found, or make the most out of, okay, I've got 15 minutes here to crank out a post of some sort. Really hard to do just from scratch. So put yourself in an editor role and then, you're off to the races, which is pretty cool.
Right.
Awesome. Talk to me a little bit about favorite prompts, or like, for generative AI tools, something that's really working, or how you iterate and how you think about testing that.
So the one example I have is just when I'm doing social media. So I will take, and you could do this obviously for anything, but we write a blog post about one of the sessions. And I go into ChatGPT and I always say, please. I don't know if it's a Midwestern thing, but I always say, please, when I go to ChatGPT, please give me 6 tweets, 2 LinkedIn posts, 1 Facebook post, based on this article, which I need to cut and paste into it because you can't put URLs in there yet. And I would like it to be, then I hit enter and it gives me the prompts. And I've learned, okay, I need it to be under 254 characters because I want to include a link. Mm-hmm. I would like to use our hashtag, use Twitter handles where where they're relevant. All the different questions I'm asking, and then I'm like, oh gosh, shoot, add this thing, add this thing. Don't leave me. Sometimes it says link placeholder. I don't want a link placeholder. So I've learned just to ask all of those things up front. So that's one of the things when I was saying in my chat in my library, my prompt library, I have that my little thing, and that's what I use every single time. And I've gotten better at it because sometimes it's Mike who, whether it's his session, if I can give them the information on who the speaker is before in that initial prompt. So how much information can you give it? And your prompt, I don't think there's a limit. I have not hit a limit on how much information I'm putting in my prompt before I get my output.
Yeah, and brand and tone in that as well, I think are really, really important, and teasing that out. Have you perfected anything in that way? And I know obviously with a lot of the work that you're doing, with your leadership, they have a lot of speaking engagements and a lot of blog posts and a lot of kind of content out there. So is that easier for you to kind of get things in their speaker voice because there's content, out for the LLMs to take from? How do you see that working for you guys?
Okay, a couple things. One, I used Agorapulse this week, and you can actually it can help you. ChatGPT is now, or GPT-4 is now part of Agorapulse. So you can say, write a tweet, and then you could say, make it persuasive, make it funny, make it all these different things, and it can do that for you, which is really cool. But to the point about like my voice versus Paul's voice versus Mike's voice, I actually wrote an email, promotional email for Maycon over the summer, and I wanted to send out a follow-up email just this to folks that didn't open it. So I changed the subject line and I wanted to change some of the text. And I said, write it in the tone of Cathy McPhillips. Mm-hmm. And it did, because I have enough published work online that it knew my voice. And I was like, wait, that's really weird. So I tested it and I said, write it in the tone of Paul Reitzer. And it did. And I was like, write it in the tone of Joe Polizzi. And it did. And it was just like, what is happening? It's crazy. Mm-hmm. So I have some emails I write for Paul, very, very few. But I actually have said, I've done that. I've written something, ran it through one of these tools and sent it to him. And I said, can you edit this? Because that was just a better starting point for him, because it actually did sound like him. Yeah. So it's crazy how some of these things work.
Yeah. And you can flip that to like right to your type of audience. If you're writing, scripts for your CSMs to, promote events, or your sales team, all of those take it on different tones depending on, what type of customer they're reaching out to, what type of prospect they're reaching out to. So you can flip that around, for your own types of use cases, and really even get it down to the person. Yeah. In terms of like tone and brand, which is so cool.
I did not bring up my favorite tool in the whole entire world. If anyone's on this call that knows me, I'm sorry, you're going to have to hear this again, but Descript. I use Descript to edit my videos, from our podcast to our webinars to anything else that we're doing. And what I like about Descript is you can actually delete the words. So you import your video, it transcribes it, and you can delete the words. For example, at the beginning of our podcast, Paul and Mike banter a little bit, and they're like, are you ready? Are you ready? Yep. Okay. Welcome to episode, whatever. So I can delete everything before welcome, just the text, and it clips the video, which is crazy. So I'm like, I could edit videos now. So I can't Paul wants a new speaker reel. I can't do that. I can project manage it, but I can't produce a highly produced video, but I can do the day-to-day stuff. And one thing I did with Descript was that I actually overdubbed Paul's voice with Paul's voice with something, because I now have 100 hours of his voice in Descript that it was able to fix something.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah.
The power of AI. Well, I want to bring Camille up because she's been getting questions from the audience, and we've got a few more minutes here. So would love to get any additional questions answered while we have you, Cathy. But this has been awesome. Hopefully so many great takeaways for our audience. I know our team is taking notes and going to be looking into many of these tools and use cases. We are AI students and will continue to be. So thank you for sparking more, more curiosity for us.
And I am too. We all are. If there are experts, some are better at this than others, but we're all learning.
I love that spirit and attitude. Thank you, Cathy. Thank you, Kate. And we do have some questions from the audience. I was monitoring the chat and making sure I was putting them into our Q&A tab so we didn't lose track of them. The first one was from Blythe, who wanted to just a quick question about, I think, Gloss AI and Opus Clip, wondering if they generate transcripts. Cathy.
They do.
Okay, amazing.
Yes, they do. I know that Opus Clip, yes, they do. And you could correct the transcripts too, because they're mostly right, but they're not always right, especially proper nouns. But they're getting better.
Good to know, right? You still need the human oversight. Okay,
Yeah.
We've answered that. We're going to blitz through some of these other questions, I think. Yasima asked, how did you, going back to the questions that you were able to distill down to the 15 kind of key questions, she wanted to know, or they wanted to know, how did you collect the individual questions? Was it in a poll, other channels, or how did you get like kind of the big list of questions first?
So we use Zoom for our webinars and our online classes, and we just pulled the report from Zoom.
Got it. Interesting.
And someone threw it in the chat instead of putting it in the Q&A. I did the very non-AI thing of cutting and pasting.
Which honestly, I just did as well. I copied that question from the chat and put it in our Q&A tab. Okay, this is an important one from Connie. How do you handle concerns around security, proprietary information? Is it just better not to submit that type of content information? I chimed in with my thoughts, and I told Connie that I wanted to make sure you chimed in on this as well.
I think I would just say contact your legal team. If you have any questions, if it gives you pause, contact a lawyer, because I don't know. And every tool has different terms and conditions on how they use your data, where they store your data, if they store your data. Especially if you're in healthcare, if you're in financial services, I would just be very, very careful on if you're following the rules.
Yeah. Find out if there are any internal company policies. I know we have, like a Confluence article around what tools we can use and how we're allowed to use them. Great. And very important question. Okay. Also, Erica asked, what are your favorite tools for written summaries and quotes from sessions? And also, I think this is related to Marcella's question, who asked, sorry if I missed it, but do you have a recommendation or your favorite tool to test those session titles that you had mentioned and the abstracts to make sure that they resonate? What's your favorite tool for that?
So from the copy standpoint, we used ChatGPT and we used Claude. To seeing which one worked, it was basically our team got together and our event team got together and just looked at them and said, this one, a lot of it was just us saying this one's the right one. It wasn't, we couldn't run them both because we had to get it live on our website. So we couldn't do any tests prior to. So in that instance, we just made a decision among our team, but we have been doing A/B tests of subject lines in our emails, just like would do any normal A/B test. And we're just splitting up we're not segmenting our lists. We're just saying, run one of these two randomly. And then we're testing the results on opens, clicks, and conversions of our A/B tests of our subject lines of emails.
Cool. And then for a written summary or quotes from sessions, I'm wondering if Erica meant like from video, like a webinar or something like that. But Erica,
I ran so we get the raw videos from our event, from our sessions, and put them on our Google Drive. And oftentimes I'll just pull Google Drive into Descript and have it give me the transcription.
All right, Descript. You heard it here first. And
Zoom, you could too. I mean, there's a couple. Otter.ai could do it for you.
Okay.
That's probably one of the more prevalent use cases is transcripts.
Yeah, we use them for sure. Got to work smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we blitzed through. I'm going to check the event chat one more time. Okay. I think we got through all of the questions. What I will say is, to anyone in the audience, feel free to join our Slack channel, because we don't have to end this conversation here and today. Let's keep it going so that we can continue to learn together and share resources, share solutions, experiments, your latest and greatest AI prompts. We actually have an AI prompts channel in our Slack community, and would love for you to drop in whatever you've currently used. Cathy, I will be tapping you for sure for that. And I really just want to take a moment again to thank Cathy and Kate for sharing such invaluable insights today. We are at time, folks, if you can believe it. And I need to announce our social community raffle winner before we depart. Congratulations to Marie Theriot, who is the field marketing manager at Times. You are our community raffle winner today. We'll be in touch after this event to make sure you get your gift card. And on behalf of the entire Splash team, thank you so much for tuning in with us today. We absolutely live for creating meaningful experiences for marketing and event professionals to come together and learn together. So if you found this content and session valuable today, we hope that you'll let us know so that we can continue to do more of that. We're going to drop a link to a feedback survey in the chat right now. It'll also be in a recap email with the full recording to this session. If you want to go back, share this recording with your teammates as well, do that. And last but not least, as I said, if you're interested in learning more about how Splash can help you power events at scale, reach out to us and let us know. You can, as I said, join our Meet Splash event next week, or you can sign up for a more tailored one-on-one demo with our team. We have a whole team of Splash experts ready to help you take your events to the next level. So it's been an absolute pleasure to be learning with all of you today. Thank you again for hanging out with us. And until next time, take care, folks. And thank you again, Kate and Cathy.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks, Cathy.